And
Sorry.
and we have makom, which means place, but it's another word for God. So it's a place where the presence of God exists. And we have to make it, just like we had to make the tabernacle and the ark thousands of years ago. Makom will exist as long as those whose hearts move them make the effort to do what is needed. And in fact, even though we don't go through the same detail as maybe the Ark and the Tabernacle, but I do think the people involved in the 5-year study, they really do have to come down to a lot of fine and specific detail to move Macomb where it needs to be to continue what it is for all of us. So that's it.
Yesh koach. Thank you. Jen is here tonight, and she's in charge of the 5-year plan that would involve us, and we'll get to that. Let me put the agenda up. That's not it. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'll put the agenda in the notes, because I'm now taking minutes in the chat. Thank you, Bob. You did about registration on our calendar for adult enrichment. So it's really been very successful, opening up registration really for everything, not just Sunday morning, Rabbi Evans class, for everything. It helps us know to plan for security, food, the whole 9 yards. And full transparency, I had a couple people complain, and I said, you have to do it. Like, and I'm the wrong person to complain to. And look, if you're not registered, we're not going to throw you out. It's something that people have to get used to. And in 2025, we have security there full time. We need to, he says to me, and it's for the most part only men. I don't know if they have any women working for them, but he's like, what's going on? So I can say, we're doing this. We have this many people, and it's helpful for me. It's helpful, for the setup, and I think it's worked well. Lynn.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so let me, let's see if I can.
What is registering? You mean when we come in the door that we have to check in?
No, if you're coming to a program, I'm going to go to.
And not online, Lynn, but when you
not
come
online.
physically
No, I'm
to
saying
the program.
when I came in the door, I think for one program, he wanted to see if my name was on the list.
Right, you were supposed to pre-register online with a link to register.
So what you do is, hypothetically speaking, here's our website. You have to be logged in. You go to the calendar, and we're in February, but we're going to be in March in a hot minute. And then you can, am I not logged in? Well, no, here it is. Then Sunday, we see that we have adult enrichment, discussion of the Illinois prison project with Jenny Sobel. We look at this. Then you can register for it. I'm already registered. And then I have admin privileges. I don't know if other people can do this, but you can see who's registered. So you just have to.
You did not get that if you just register.
Yeah, I think it's
with admin privileges. Maybe you do, but
yeah, exactly. So
I had no idea about this. Am I just out of the loop here?
Well, it's I've mentioned it in writing.
I'm sure you have,
but I just thought it's important to bring it up to this committee because you know, our programs can really fluctuate. Rabbi Moffick he's calling it the Salon Society. In January, he had a Monday night with 90 people in attendance, and I can go back and look and see who was there. That's another thing. We can discuss that. And then 60 people online. And
Wow.
he had his last one last Monday, and it was a little less. He was not happy about that. But about 60, 70 in person and 40 online. I mean, those are good numbers, but you know, for me, just to tell them what the setup should be, it's so helpful. And we have to start training people to do it.
And it's in the Macomb at home.
So if you're
I haven't seen it since today.
online, you don't have to register, right?
No, because I don't, you know,
All right,
I
so
can-
if you have a program listed and it says register, that's all you have to do is register.
yeah, that's all you have to do.
Okay,
Now, occasionally, you know, if I'm doing something and we're hoping to go to the North Light, that there's a play this spring, and so that might be a form if you have to pay money.
okay,
But most of my programs are free.
okay.
Jen,
Quick question. If you change
Yeah.
it to RSVP, do you think that would be softer or easier? Because registration makes it sound like I'm really
Right.
signing up, but RSVP is like I'm attending.
Right.
It's the same thing, but it's more like attending a party and people get that.
yeah, no, well, I would prefer register. Like
Okay.
this is just, it's a class.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what?
true. That's true. That's true.
I think if you say RSVP, oh, I can't go. Lee,
Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
I
That's
think
true
it's
too. Okay,
really-
never mind. Never mind.
No,
I
RSVP
don't-
is really less formal. It's less formal and not as committed. You're not as committed as
Mhm.
you are for registering, though ultimately it's the same, I think. but-
agreed.
True.
I'm
It's
Yeah,
just
sorry,
I don't
Lee.
think-
What-
You know, how many cookies to have. Like it's not,
Right. Right.
I think going to a softer approach is a step in the wrong direction. In fact, I'm planning something down here and I don't want to deal with an RSVP and then a payment because it's
Mm.
something, a party, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And I'm going to put in the flyer, I'm going to find a wonderful soft way of saying, but what I'm going to say is your payment is your RSVP.
Oh,
I don't want an RSVP and you'll pay me eventually. No, I
Yeah.
don't have the bandwidth for that.
the only problem is with registering is that a lot of people don't want to make the commitment, so they're not going to register, but they would come maybe. I don't know, Vanessa, I totally understand
Right.
the positives of it. It's just getting involvement with people. We want them to come and it's one more layer on them to have to register. So it's up to you what you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's been super successful, especially with Evan's classes.
Well, then keep it. And I think the form was very doable, accessible with his,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
if you make
And-
it super easy, it should not be a problem.
Right. And if people call us in the office and say, I don't know how to do it, we just register them.
Okay,
So.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we don't want to, you know, put a stumbling block for a blind person.
exactly.
So, you know, we're happy to do that. So now the next couple, time of adult enrichment, and status of the lox and bagels. We've had, I wanted to get your input. We've had a lot of adult enrichment in the afternoons. We've had a couple in the morning. What's your feeling on the time slot? And then on the hindsight of this, I can tell you, you know, the building is not right now. The building is super crowded.
Yeah.
And it's super crowded. So, thoughts, Lynn?
Frankly, I think the lox and bagels should not be an every week thing. I think it should be a special programming thing. It's expensive and that's just my opinion. A lot of people love it, but I don't think it should be I don't know. I don't think it should be every week.
Mm-hmm.
That's my.
What about the time?
Yeah, the lox and bagels is a different issue. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the morning,
Yeah.
but what I really would say is be consistent. If consistently we have to do it at 12 or 1 or whatever, I think it's more confusing for more people to go back and forth, regardless of what time you would choose.
The only problem with consistency is that it it sort of puts parameters around programming, because some of the things I'm going to mention today are much broader than a Sunday morning thing. And
That's right. But I'm talking about just right now on Sunday morning, the difference between 10 to 11 and 1 to
oh,
What did the numbers show?
let me quickly bring that up. I just was sharing this with Lisa Kaplan. And you know, I would say the virtual ones are a little less attended. And you know, Adam Nimoy, which was in the afternoon, it was Adam Nimoy. That's why we had 80. Sue Benjamin and, you know, Cantor J, 400. But, you know, again, in person, Rabbi Susan Marks. And I thought she did a great job, but
Well,
you know,
how about the difference between morning and afternoon, the numbers? I'm not sure which were the morning and which were the afternoon.
yeah. So that's a good question. Oh, it says afternoon here. I would say most of them were in the afternoon. The only one that was in the morning was Eugene and Sue Benjamin and Cantor J. And the rest of them were either virtual or in the afternoon. Now, Ben, and all the virtuals I do in the morning. Ben Zeller, I mean, people were really, you know, very, that subject matter really drew a lot of people. That's the biggest virtual we've had.
Vanessa,
Yeah.
the timing thing is, I mean, you're not going to please everyone. You're going to have people who can't come in the morning because they have regular commitments, and there are people who
Right.
don't like the afternoon. And so
Right.
for our job is just to see, I disagree. I think we should mix it up. I don't think that there has to be consistency. If the program is going to be a draw, people are going to come no matter what.
Yeah.
If they can't come, they're not going to come anytime. So I think it's the draw of the program and the
Right.
high interest, no matter when you have it.
So
I would agree. And I
Yeah.
think, time, as opposed to being consistent and just doing it at 10 or just doing
Right.
it at 1,
right.
maybe put the timing in bold so that then people pay more attention. Oh, this one's at 1, or, oh, this one's at 10. Just to make sure that they are aware of the time.
I do have to say that Stacy has been giving me some one-offs so that people know what's happening this weekend. There'll be one coming out tomorrow. We cannot consistently have it at 10 in the morning because the building is overrun.
Right.
We could consistently have it from 1 to 2.
See, I think that's the hardest time for people.
Listen, I hate it.
Yeah,
And
my
that's
husband
why
too.
I hate it. And I kind of made a deal. I said, to Ashley, I said, can I have one a month in the morning? And she said, yes. Now,
Mhm.
one I did with the school, the Holocaust speaker we did with the school, and that program, and thank you, Jim, for getting us a speaker. That program has always been popular, well attended, and I think people realize the importance of it. And I'm not sure if there are other ways for us to partner with the school, and it's something we can explore.
So the question is, and this came up early on when we merged, because I kept being reminded that we were adult enrichment.
Right?
Because I kept thinking, more broadly with getting more age
Mhm.
groups in I should
Mhm.
forget that and think
Yeah.
about adults.
Right.
So, I mean, if we're gonna do it with the school, it'll have to be the older kids.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
No? I mean, so I don't know how Ashley
The,
is sort
Yeah.
of hesitant because she's got the little kids to think
yeah,
about.
she has a lot of little kids.
So
The
here's
other
another question.
Yeah.
How available is nighttime or later even like 4 o'clock is when Susan, what they did that. I think that is
Susan.
Sue Benjamin.
Oh, like the 4 o'clock Sunday
Yeah,
concert. Jay
exactly.
did some
Well,
concert.
no, she was in the morning.
Yeah, I
She
think,
was
but
in
Jay
the
did do some
morning this
concerts.
time,
Yeah.
but she did do at later afternoon ones.
I mean, it's just a matter of scheduling it on the calendar. We do have a
Right.
theater program, which is in the sanctuary from 12 to 2 to 30. And that's there every week. Now, I thought you were going to bring up, what about the chapel?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Exactly. And there's no streaming in the chapel.
Yeah.
To Zoom in there, it might be possible, but there's no drop down screen. I mean, it's just not up to state of art. And I know it's something that they know that we want to be able to stream in there and so on and so forth. But at this time,
They did bring, I know Danny did a program in there and they did have a screen in there.
right, it was a
oh.
regular screen like you have in your closet at
Right.
home.
Well, hey, we have to be adaptable, right?
Right. Right. I can also tell you this, and if you come to Friday night services or anything, the microphone situation
Oh,
has really deteriorated.
you're not kidding.
Yeah. So, I don't know what the microphone situation is in the chapel because I haven't been in there and I haven't heard anything in there. So it's something that really needs to be brought up to snuff, in my opinion. And I've said it, I've raised it. I thought it would be
So
ready
have
to
I.
go. I know you have. I thought the chapel would be ready to go this year.
I
Now,
thought so too.
I will also tell you that there's so many kids in the school, they use that as a classroom too.
Oh, geez. Okay, I know the solution. We
Yeah.
need to build on.
Yeah.
I'm not-
Gary and I were talking to Jay about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think this committee is very creative. And I think we should just brainstorm our wish list
Yeah.
and start working on this because this is, I mean, ideally we have what is the perfect situation now. We're growing, we've got a lot of people and the
Mhm.
building is just not sufficient enough right
Right.
now.
Right.
So, I mean, if we brainstorm and come up with some creative solutions on programming and work with Ashley and bring her in and talk to us and
Right. I
work
mean,
out.
the thing that we, at Legacy Lakeside, you go to split shifts for the kids. And then that just opens up a whole
I
new,
think we were in split shifts.
well, we're not now.
Well, Solel wasn't split shift.
Yeah. I'm sure because you get to a certain size and you just can't grow.
Right.
You
right.
just can't grow it and we need to be able to grow.
Do you think that would solve a lot of problems for us in spacing and things?
It might.
But, a lot of this is not, it's really what the 5-year study is looking
Yes.
at and
Yes.
the kind of potential solutions. I'm not sure that's what our committee is designed
Right.
to do.
And it's certainly not with the religious school. I will tell you this, that I have tried to be very proactive with field trips. We went to the Holocaust Museum. We've been there twice now. I'm sure we'll go again. We had a play on a Sunday. We went down to our church partners on Martin Luther King weekend. And so that's, 3 or 4 times that gets us out of the building and out of the parking lot and so on and so forth, because it's not just the building, the parking lot is overtaxed as well.
If we can talk a little bit more about the time and the lox and bagels.
Yes, that
So-
would be great.
Going back to the time, it sounds like what we're probably doing is once a month in the morning, and the rest of them are going to be, just because again, the constraints are going to be in the afternoon. And going back to what Lynn said, maybe doing lox and bagels once a month. Well, if we're
Yeah.
only in the morning once a month, that could be the one, once a month we do the lox and bagels.
Right.
And then,
Well, actually, but the problem is having lox and bagels in the morning is a terrible, in terms of timing. They can't get it there and people eating and the program, and then the kids come in and it's, it's just, in terms of logistics, extremely difficult.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
If you start
thi-
making lox and bagels an occasional thing, be prepared for the fact that number one, you're going to get a lot of kickback. And
yeah,
number two, you're going to lose numbers. Because
Yeah.
whether it's right or wrong and whether you want this with
Yeah.
the program is not the
Yeah.
point.
right,
People come for the food.
yeah.
And
I
my,
agree with you.
and what I actually previously, what Vanessa and I have talked about is just having it with the afternoon programs,
Right,
because logistically it's easier.
yeah,
right. I think we can do it for some of the programs, like we'll have it, I already ordered it for this week. But the one thing, and Barb Kessler came up to me after Sue Benjamin and Jay's program. She goes, "You can't do lox and bagels for this many people.
no.
If we know that we have over 200-300 people, I can't do it. We
Right.
can't do it." Lynn,
I have a great idea
great.
for Sue and Jay, and I haven't talked to them about it yet.
Okay.
They do this program in, I'm losing my voice, excuse me. They do this program in Florida at a
In
temple.
Longboat Key, yes, they're there this week. I
They
think,
made
last week.
$13,000 for that temple, and Sue
Mhm.
doesn't understand why we're not doing it here at Macomb. And my idea is, why don't we change this to a fundraiser and have a dinner associated with it? So the Sue and Jay would be the entertainment after the dinner. And it would be, I think, a spectacular gala kind of thing, rather than having a separate program, and it would be at night.
I don't know. I don't know that we have the purview to do this. And Bob can certainly, I don't know if we need to take this back to the board, or certainly back to the senior staff, and certainly back to Jay and
Okay, it might be more
Sue?
Jay.
I'm sorry,
Sue-
what?
I said it might be more Jay being willing. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, no, Susan has been talking to me about
I mean,
it.
because
She
Jay
doesn't-
he did, after the 4th of July, he did do a fundraiser and it was great.
Yeah.
And
She-
we raised
Sue-
funds. It was amazing.
Sue cannot understand, and she has said this to me 3 times, and she's a very close friend of mine. I don't understand why we're not doing this at Macomb. Why am I making 13,000 for a temple I don't even belong to? So she is not opposed to having a fundraiser for this.
Jay maybe.
Jay, I don't think would be.
Well, here's the thing. Jay and I both feel very strongly that both adult enrichment and his concerts get people in the door, and they're like, "Oh,
Exactly.
I love," but it's because they don't pay anything, and
Well-
then we get them later.
But that's on us. There is no reason we could not have charged non-members for their programs. We just didn't do it.
Oh,
We are
non-members.
so sensitive about looking good. 400 people.
Yeah.
Did Jay ask for
said
money?
if we had charged them $10 a person, we would have. made
Yeah. I'm sorry,
4,000.
what was the question?
Did Jay, often at the end of the Jay will mention, like, we
Yes.
can't do it without you. Please contribute to the music fund. Did he?
But how many
well,
do that? How many?
I've never asked him, I know that his fund is fairly flush because occasionally we use it for certain things, but I'd have to ask him what on that.
Might have. I mean, it probably isn't 13,000, but I'm sure he had
Yeah.
about after the 400 from Paul Simon.
Well, honestly, I don't know. I know that is one area that Lakeside and Solwell, I think, disagreed on was the fundraising aspect. And we were not into that either for years and years and years and years. And then it gets to the point where we needed the money. And we had a Judaica fair and we made a lot of money, but it was a lot of work. And so that sort of went by the wayside. But we've got a built-in audience here for these two people.
Right.
And
But I would say, and Bob started a little bit, this is really the purview of fundraising and development, not us.
you don't think adult enrichment should be involved in this, that this would be a programming thing? It started that way.
I don't think, I don't know. I mean, I think there has to be more collaboration and there has to be more permission and more, I mean, there's just so many people that.
What part of it, Vanessa, is bothering you about this? I can tell that this is.
Yeah, I don't think Jay wants to do it.
You don't think he wants to do why would he do it for a temple he doesn't belong to?
Because the mission and the vision of the temple he doesn't want to do. I'm sure he's getting paid for that.
They are getting paid for that, but not a tremendous amount.
Right. I'd have to talk to Jay and I'd have to find out.
Okay. You don't mind if I talk to them as well, do you?
No, of course not.
Okay. Okay. Because Sue is really on board with that.
Okay.
All right. That's one of my ideas.
If we can, I think we need to get some resolution on the earlier agenda items. We're tending to go past them. But can I ask you, generally, what's the average cost for the lox and bagels?
About $300.
Are you still passing around a sign-up sheet like the old days?
No, we haven't. I did put it out there at one point. Occasionally people donate. And people donate to adult enrichment. And
Put out the appeal for the funding for the breakfasts, and I think that must have been July.
yeah,
August. How
Mhm.
many of us responded?
a handful. Could I go after those people? Yeah. But
I just wonder. I didn't know
Yeah.
what kind of
Yeah.
response they got.
not a lot. But it's something that, and I think puts me in a hard place of like, hey, Jim, you're on the committee. You took us to the Holocaust Museum. Can you sponsor this? But, maybe if it's a lay appeal, it would be easier.
And would you say we average about 10 a year,
10 a year,
roughly?
maybe a little more.
Right.
Maybe 14.
So maybe 4,000, around $4,000
Yeah.
a year.
Mhm. And, the adult people give money to adult enrichment. And, we've been lucky with our speakers. We've had authors from the Jewish Book Council. So it's all kind of washed out.
Vanessa?
Yeah.
A real quick question. At one time, we always had the donation jar.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe going back to that because we stopped that, and it would
I'm
just
happy to put that out. It doesn't really, it's like pennies.
Yeah.
And it would be easier for me to go to 3 people and say, I need $75 a piece here.
Right.
And to, hack everyone with the donation.
Do you have a line item in the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
For lox and bagels or for adult education?
It's adult enrichment. So when I spend it on, and when I spend lox and bagels, it comes out of there. So,
Mhm.
Oh.
um,
One possibility, and I don't want to get into ideas for programming yet until we're done with these, but we could look into, and like you said, we'd have to talk to Cantor J,
right,
and of course, if we were going to do a dinner,
right,
Stacy and everybody else who's involved.
right.
But we could position it as a fundraiser for adult enrichment,
Yeah,
and that it would then cover things like lox and bagels
right,
at all the in-person times, which let's say
right,
4,000. So
right,
if we get 7, 8,000 or 5 or 6,000,
right,
it's going to cover all of
right.
the lox and bagels.
And look, some of the speakers do charge money, so I mean,
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think people can understand that because
yes,
these are the ones who are coming to adult enrichment. So for them
exactly.
to spend $20 or whatever would be the charge
Yeah,
once a year for the concert, or
they get it.
Susan and Jay, they're probably willing to do it because they understand that they're eating
Right.
lox and bagels each
Right.
of these times. So
Sing for your supper.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
And we could even say, I think people are not aware always that adult enrichment is organizing all of this.
yes,
And that maybe the idea that the adult enrichment is, putting on this program, this gala or whatever, this,
right,
I mean, and honestly, the draw is there. I mean,
yes,
the draw is there. And so I don't think people, they get an hour and a half of entertainment.
yeah.
I don't think they'd mind.
Lee,
Lee, yeah.
First of all, where did the raise your hand go? Didn't
It's,
it used
yes.
to be under participants?
Let's
Yeah.
see.
reactions.
Is it under React?
Yeah,
Reaction. I don't, oh,
There's a
raise it.
little hard.
I see it.
And-
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I lost it and thank you.
Updates.
now you got it.
So instead of all or nothing, I know there were a couple programs very early on in the merger where we were sort of dipping our toes into the whole food thing. Some expect it, some don't expect it, but it was mini bagels with a little schmear and a little rosette of lox. Is that like a total flop? Either they want to pig out or don't have it?
It's not a pig out. I don't think, is there cheaper ways to do it? But, I'm not running to Costco to get 3 pounds of lox every week. And I think the presentation that we have now, and I've narrowed it down. We don't have as much surplus and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't think it's a pig out question. I think it's a
Yes.
question of the opportunity for people to sit around a table while they have that and
Yes.
socialize
And
talk.
socialize.
And
Yep.
that half hour before the program is worth
Yeah.
as much as the whole program. And
It's
that's
worth,
why I
to
say
me,
people will
it's,
come or not for it.
Definitely.
Right.
to
Definitely.
me, it's worth the $300 for that community building moment that you
Agreed.
see.
Yes. Yes.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And I think, and so back to the fundraising idea, any fundraising ideas, you need to go to the VP of Development, which is currently David Morrison.
Didn't I say that?
Yes, and propose it, because I don't know what's in their plans.
Yeah.
But you can't just do it. You have to like ask him and they discuss and
Right.
and
Right.
he will help you figure it out if it
Right.
aligns or not.
Right, right. His father-in-law just passed away, but that was
Maybe not
last
this
week, and he should be back in here.
Mm.
But I think these are all great ideas, and
I have another, are we into programming now?
well,
or-
wait.
Okay.
The epitome of the in Hebrew balagan, but the messiness of the morning was Sue and Cantor. There were so many people there, the kids. I mean, it was just it was a nightmare. So I know Jay prefers to do it in the morning, but we may have to find another time of day or do it in the afternoon because it was unwielding and there was something else going on that day.
It
You know,
was a
we-
perfect trifecta day, I think.
Yes, well, was it the blood drive?
Blood
don't-
drive,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
It was the blood drive. Right.
I mean, so, anyway,
Mhm.
let me just look
If
at.
nothing else, if you maintained it the way it is, schedule it, ideally, if you can get it a schedule on a day when you don't have religious school or something,
Yeah,
that would
Well,
help ease some of that congestion.
yes, it would,
Because they're
but
gonna draw big.
yes, the thing that really, puts a crinkle in our plans is Sue Benjamin is in Florida most of the year.
Exactly.
And so I said, when can you make it? And that, that was, I think she came back for that.
She did,
So that's really the push and
but she
pull.
doesn't, she really does not mind. I mean, they're building a beautiful condo in downtown Highland Park.
Okay,
That's not a problem. And Mark
Okay.
needs to come back on occasion too, but it is a consideration. I mean,
right,
we
right,
have to work around her schedule as well.
exactly. So her
Mhm.
schedule, the building schedule and Jay's schedule, it's not easy.
And the
Not easy.
piano player, the
Oh, yes.
Bob
Well, I don't,
Hansen.
right, I don't contact him, so
I know.
I don't have to worry. She says I can make these dates and Jay, blah, blah. So I work
I
backwards.
want to ask Jen a question if I may. I want to get back to your comment about alignment. Can you expand on that? You said it has to align with
Oh.
what?
I'm just not in the exec board this year, so I don't know what fundraising is being planned. So
I
they
don't
might
think
have a
that-
whole plan, and there's probably a strategic plan going on that I also am not privy to anymore.
I
And I
didn't
just
even
mean
know
align, meaning
going
we
on.
can't just start fundraising ad hoc because this group feels like it. We can't just same goes for any group, like not
If
to
you
press the
don't
button,
have
but like human needs can't just fundraise
Oh,
for
you don't
kids.
have ideas to present to them, it's
It
not
has to go
going to
through.
go on.
It
So
has to go through them. That's it.
somebody has to come up with an idea
Yeah.
and present it to them.
I
And-
assure
and I
you,
think
he would
both-
love to hear the idea. I just don't know what else is already in the works. They don't want to be asking too much too often.
Right,
There's all sorts of variables that they worry about and discuss about
Right.
what is right at the moment and whatever.
right.
All right, I have a
like,
question. I have a question. What fundraisers have there been at all?
Well, we did just
Give me
have
a
a gala.
fundraiser. Where have the fundraisers been?
so I think though that the tension is getting people out for Latka Vodka, the gala, these big events. Some of them are just to create community, but
Right.
you can't do two big events.
I understand
head
that.
to head and side to side. And the Purim Spiel, all of those have sponsors. Do they make a lot of money? I'm not, privy to that, but they do have, they encourage people to participate and to give money.
And it does, so I do know, like Latka Vodka, it covers the cost of the event. It
Exactly.
self-funds, so
Right.
we don't need to pull from anything. And we
totally
usually
understand
do
that.
extra something that then rolls into the next event.
I understand that. And I think for so long, I don't know about your temple, but our temple, they were not money makers. They sustained the event, and that's fine. But as time is going on and we are growing and growing, we really do need extra funds.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be more practical about that. And the number you're saying is a different story. I understand the logistics of
Yeah.
it. It's
You
the
gotta go
fundraising.
on you gotta go on the development committee, Lynn.
Yeah. Go have a discussion with David Morrison. He is more than happy to talk to you about.
I would,
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Absolutely.
And he has good follow through and we'll get
Does.
back to you.
Okay.
Lee, you're muted
See, I learned how to raise my hand.
and unmute. Good job.
So hearing that the synagogue is growing, is all good in all good ways. However, if we are I could be totally wrong, but as I'm thinking of growing, I'm thinking there are more young families joining than empty nesters joining.
No.
And considering that we don't charge separate for religious school, does that just put us further and further behind every year?
No, first of all, we have a lot of empty nesters. If you look at how big our synagogue is, we have about 600 families, and we have about 300 kids in the school, which means that's about 280 families. That means there's 320 families without kids in the school.
Oh,
And-
okay,
and
great.
I mean, look, this is my party line, that if we don't program for people who, after their kids are in school, once the kids, are done with school, they leave. And we have to have these programs for adults. We can't just have pediatric Judaism. That's a whole nother thing. But it is not, new, just school people. And every Friday nights, and Bob is a regular goer on Friday night, and Mary comes online. We have like 100 people. That's amazing to me.
Well, it also points to the importance of the adult enrichment programming. I
Yes.
mean,
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
Right. I mean, I talked to a brand new member, I don't know, maybe a couple of months back, basically, who said she joined so that she could have a rabbi, and specifically our rabbi, to provide with end of life, services.
Yeah.
That was her, her,
Right.
what she sought, was a
Right.
rabbi who she could seek comfort with.
Right.
And we
I
all,
mean, our
And this
book
is not a
groups-
finance committee meeting, but make no mistake about it, the school was never self-funding anyway.
No.
We
oh, for sure.
chose to do what we did when we changed this structure and took the school fees out because we were kidding ourselves. People thought they were paying for the school and they weren't.
Yep.
No,
They were.
right.
And we
And-
had some people paying for the school thinking that was also membership. So we
Yeah.
just made it one thing.
Yeah, I have to
simplify.
say that, I talk to my colleagues in the area. We're growing, other congregations are growing, North Shore Congregation Israel, blah, blah. But our deepest competition is with people who are unaffiliated. That's who we need to go after. We're not going to get, the 3 people we get because BJBE has a, interim rabbi. And I think that going to a community commitment has been amazing. Amazing. I can't say enough about it because people love it. And they've given money, they've been, all of it. So I think I don't know, my empirical data or anecdotal is that it's been totally,
I agree. We
yes.
lost Lynn.
Here she comes.
Okay.
So do we want to brainstorm ideas?
Well, before we brainstorm ideas, Jen, is there anything you want to tell us about the 5-year plan? And is there anything you want us to talk about or?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for it. Perfect timing because I've been it's hard to find time to work on this. So I'm like, oh, what a perfect opportunity for me to pick all of your brains, just a skosh.
Uh-huh.
And
Look, Jen is heading this committee. She's doing a fine job, but everyone on this committee just has much more experience, time put into adult enrichment than the people on the committee,
a
frankly.
little bit short. Yeah. So, but little things like we're working on our report. It's very loose yet, so we'll get there. Hopefully
Right.
by next week. But anyway, what are your guidelines for choosing speakers? Would be kind of one idea that is something I'm interested in. Maybe how do you see, like, do you talk about, like this is supposed to be a 5-year plan. So how do you see with more people, more and more and more, it growing and changing? Do you have, you know, a goal that you all have thought of? And then maybe just, you know, I'm always looking at attendance. That's why I'm like the 400 people at Jay's versus the 80 people at Nimoy versus, you know, which, and then those who came to Rabbi Moffick's lecture on a Monday night, you know, so those are all very, I always sit in the back of the room. It's my comfort zone, but it also lets me see all the people and see all the demographics of who is and who isn't. And so to me, that is probably going to be a large part of the strategic goal for this group for lifelong learning and programming, how to broaden the attendance demographically.
I will tell you, Jen, that I shared with Lisa Kaplan, who is doing, I don't know what she's
I think
doing,
she's building one, infrastructure, building tech.
but she asked me questions about attendance and numbers, and I gave her all my numbers because I have the numbers.
All right, give it to me too, then I have it, I guess.
I will give it to you too.
Now that it's together. Perfect. Yeah.
Anyway, I mean,
So yeah, that was a lot. Let me know if anyone else do one at a time, or if it's just
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
your brain time to think on some ideas.
all right, Lynn, I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead.
Actually, my iPad went out of power, so I had to switch. If we go back, how many years are we in merger? I forgot.
6.
6.
Oh, now 6.
I was in charge of the adult enrichment
Mm-hmm.
committee, and we came up with a beautiful mission statement. We came up with goals. All of that has been done. I mean, to spin the wheels again, if we go back to our notes, we can give that all to you. But in essence, what we were saying is that we have to vary our choices of programming to hit all the senses and to hit different modalities, different ages amongst the elderly. I mean, we have groups, we've divided them into groups of people that we need to, like widows, like people with empty nesters, like, you know, all of those things. I think we came up with 5 different groups of people that we needed to target. And I'm not sure we have stayed with that plan, but we probably could bring it back again and see if revisit that and see if we're doing what we said we were going to do. I think we have. Some people would say we're too heavy on speakers. And we've been trying to do other kinds of programming. So maybe we need to look at our programming again and see if we can get more diversity, DEI, and to do that. But you know what? I have notes. Vanessa, I'm sure you have the notes.
Yeah,
But
we can do that at the next meeting and just look at that. I mean, I'd have to look at it, but I think that we try very hard to have a very varied program. And look, I know my people, and I know that if we have a travel this, people will complain, and too many tech study, people complain. Not enough tech study, people complain. So, but I think there's a little bit for everybody. Mary, wait, yeah, I'll unmute you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, I do have a comment about the audience participation. I do not think we need to have a goal of 400 people for each adult enrichment.
right.
That is not the goal.
Right.
The goal is to provide a variety for adults in different numbers, groups, panels, discussion, just a wide variety, so that you could have interpersonal or group discussion or a larger lecture, information, or a concert, so that you have the variety of audience numbers. I think sometimes we get too focused on audience numbers and forget that, but what was the quality that was provided?
I think that e- getting out of the building, besides helping the building, those have been different experiences, and I know
Right.
Mary and Bobby been to the. I mean, they've been really wonderful, and I also think that if we had 400 people every week, I'd pull my hair out.
Too many.
You know, and we can't. The building cannot sustain that at this point, and I think, and also one of my mission and vision over the summer is to highlight our clergy. So I insist, I make them, they each take a month. And it's very popular. People like to interact with them. And we know that we can say prospective members, come to this, come to that, come to this. And all of those things, as we have been doing for a couple of years, have been very, very helpful. And even though Day of Action is in Tikkun Olam, there's been some very successful programs that have become, you know, part of our lexicon and how we meet people. And, you know, I think that's fantastic.
I do want to say, I also agree that the variety is great. I do. I think that what we provide is great, but this is just the 5-year check-in point of
Right.
what can we do more?
Right.
Mhm.
So, and one of those would be, how do you reach the 50-year-olds? Not that I'm a little, but you know, how do you reach how? So,
Right.
because
Well,
I come to the programs, I think they're great. How do
Right.
I get 10 of my friends to join me?
well, I tell you,
I'm
mark
working
your
on it.
calendar for Tuesday, May 13th, because I got a U of I professor, Gary Porton, who is now teaches at Spertus, and we're going to try to reach out to U of I alumni to come and hear him speak. And he's supposed to be a fabulous speaker. So I think those types of things might be great. Lynn.
Right.
All right. So when I was membership chair, I had a group of 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and 50-year-olds come to talk to us about what they would like to see, what kind of programming they would like. Jen, as this speaks to your point. And guess what? None of it appealed to them. They said Sunday morning they wanted to do they don't, they need some time off. So they dropped their kids off. So we decided to, ask them what would bring you in to the temple. And they said if the school had parents day, or if the teachers had something they wanted the parents to come into the building and see and work with their kids, because they don't see their kids a lot during the week. So we have, if that's the case where we have to, and we were really working hard to get the 50-year-olds into the building. It is a tough job because these people, a lot of them are working, and Sunday morning is their time to, to
Right.
for them too.
You know what? Family education, I think is a fantastic thing. You know, I don't know that that's our purview. And another thing, which is not, you know, exactly, but it is part of the 5-year plan, is we've had a lot of engagement programs, mosaics, challah making,
Yeah.
babka making, and that has reached a whole different set of people, and people love it. And so, you know, kol hakavod to Stacy, she's done a great job with all of those programs, and um, they've been very successful. You know, but I would say between, you know, I don't know, 40 and 50. We have canasta, we have mahjong on Wednesday afternoons. I mean, there's just so much going on.
And I talked to you about maybe doing Tai Chi.
Right.
I keep mentioning yoga.
Oh,
Mhm.
yoga.
Same idea. I'm like, we should do a yoga class.
Yeah,
You know,
Yep.
it would be good.
Eamon, I'm sure Andy's talked to you about that, hasn't she?
No, you
Oh
know
my
who does,
God.
you know who runs a yoga class is Emily Mizell.
And so does Andy Eamon. She's
Oh, did
phenomenal.
not know that. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can
Yeah.
talk
Or
to her about it.
I only
meditation.
want to do goat yoga. Can we have goats in the building?
No.
That would get me to a yoga class. They have baby goats.
No,
Unless-
maybe in the summer when the tent is up. we can-
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because unless you clean up the poop, that's not happening.
I'll clean up the poop.
Ugh. And we had, it was the My Macomb women they've had programs, and they had this, what was the name of that? Something, they grow fruit trees in Haiti and all over, and they teach people to take this breadfruit and then they make flour and sell things. And I asked the organizer, I said, do you do anything with the heifer project? Because I've done that with kids where you buy a goat for a family and that, that helps them survive. And she said, I hate goats. She said, they eat everything. They eat the breadfruit trees. She said, she goes, sheep are fine. She goes, no goats. And I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. It was pretty funny. But then they may come back on a Sunday morning. It was a very, very interesting program.
They were great. And there was, not enough people, but
Yeah.
that were there, but they were great. I would
Yeah.
bring
Lynn.
Lee, could you live
Well,
with sheep yoga?
Oh,
What
sheep
kind?
yoga.
yoga.
Could you live with sheep yoga?
Is there any?
Maybe, maybe.
Our last meeting, we talked about having sort of like a humanities festival
Oh, right.
with literature and art and music and theater. And
Mhm.
I've been toying with this in my mind about the structure, and I haven't gotten far. But I don't know if we would do it on a one day, if we would do it cyclical. But we talked about having Ron Balson, Lisa Barr, Peter Orner come in and do a panel for literature. The art, we talked about Susie Mason. For music, I mentioned Marv Berman many times, who said he would be happy to come in.
He did not get back to me,
I'm
Lynn.
going to talk to him this summer.
Thank
He said
you.
he would be delighted to come in, and it's a fabulous program. And
Yeah,
and Mary, with her theater, we could talk to also Larry Mason for theater. We
Mhm.
people involved in theater. There are people in
right,
the congregation who would
right,
love to do things
right.
with a
I-
little theater thing.
right.
So
I will tell you that last year we collaborated with Larry on Les Mis and sold over 100 tickets. And this year, he's bringing in Hairspray, which I really like and is a lot shorter than Les Mis. That was really a long, long afternoon. And I think that has been very successful. People get to see one another. We pick a Sunday in the afternoon, and it was at Deerfield High School, and it was a win-win-win.
So we could do that on successive Sundays if we think bigger and get it
Right.
out of the building, or even when you're talking about outside. I went to a theater production that Larry did for kids, and it was out on the lawn at some park in Highland Park.
Right.
So we could think outside the box if we can't.
And make it a summer program.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a question of being, letting ourselves just think outside the box is the whole thing.
Mhm.
Have
And
you
I've
ever
been-
looked at having adult enrichment in another building? Like I think about the Wayfarer Theater. I know it's not great,
Oh.
but like what about the Wayfarer Theater? Because he's definitely trying to be a part of the community and he has space. Like
Yeah.
you could put 400 people into one of those.
that
maybe.
would be a great idea. Great.
Right.
But I don't know if it's people like going to Macomb. They know it. They know the route. They don't have to think
know.
about it. But
It's a matter of timing of programming. If we could just
Yeah.
work with Ashley and see, what's available, and even if it has to be somewhat of a weird time,
Mhm.
or not a customable time,
Right.
we could
Right.
do it. I also had another idea too. We have a lot of widows in our congregation, and they come every Friday night. I see them there, and there are some subject matters. Like I was just having I'm not a widow, but I was just having a discussion with another person about staying in place as you age or going into a facility. And we could get like people from Jewish Family Services to come in and talk to people about.
So, actually in January, I took a Sunday, there was no religious school, and Council for Jewish Elderly came. She gave a great presentation.
They're
And
great.
the thing that she's super hot to collaborate with us, and I've got to get a date, is just power of attorney.
And that is another topic.
Yeah. So just know that those ideas are percolating, and I think they're super important. And I don't know if anybody here remembers, but back in the day, the North Shore congregations had a colloquium, and they would do it for, like, let's say they picked January. Why they picked January, I'll never know, because one night always snowed out.
Mhm.
And that was before Zoom. And you would go to different synagogues and have different speakers, and the speakers
Oh,
were the rabbis in the community.
right.
And I would love to, what's
That's
the word?
great idea.
Rehabilitate that.
Resurrect that.
Resurrect that, yes. Because I think that sometimes there's these amazing programs going on at other congregations, and they've spent, a ton of money to bring in X, Y, and Z. And I am invited or whatever, and you go, and there's like 200 people, and there's room for 1,000. And uh, and I think one of the things that I believe that one reason that synagogues are growing, that after October 7th and after everything that's happening, people want to be part of something bigger. They want to be part of a community. And so I just think it would be really interesting to do something like that. I have to talk to my colleagues.
I think that would be a great idea. I remember
Yep.
doing that,
Yep.
Yep.
participating in that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you, Vanessa, whoever you want to talk to, I would be so willing to work on that humanities program.
Okay.
Same here, of course.
Okay. I want to go back, Lynn, to what do you think we can offer widows? And I also think that, like, not unlike interfaith families, like, I don't want the widows to think we're singling them out, or like, as you would single out interfaith families. Like, is there, do you think they need focus groups? Do they need, or just, what did you mean by we have
Well,
a
I
widow?
think I have to say, uh, so I'm going back a long time, but I remember Dove had a grief support group, and it was fabulous because Gary had just lost his mother. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, it can be for people in their 60s who are losing parents
Right.
who would have a grief, so it's hitting all age groups. But they're also social. The widows want socialization too. I mean, they want something to meet other people. I mean, I know friends who say I have no one to travel with. It's a lonely existence. And I see in our short story group, I mean, there are a couple of widows in there, and they love coming and talking and socializing.
Agreed. And they come to Canasta and Mahjong, not Mahjong, Canasta and
Bridge.
Brit. No, I forget. We do Canasta. I don't know. We might do one other thing.
I don't know. I think this thing about the wills and power of attorneys.
Yeah.
And I think where you're going to live when you're alone.
Yeah.
What to do there. I mean, they're all. I don't know if Tema Rosenblum is still at Jewish Family Service.
I don't. I'm 99.9. She has
She
retired.
She was fabulous. Fabulous.
I have not heard her name in decades.
Anyway, I could brainstorm. I've got friends who are widows and what they're looking for. They're looking for another man.
Okay.
To socialize with.
But
Don't we have widowers too in the temple?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure.
I think that's what Friday night oneg is. You just hang out.
That's when
And-
that tell them that. Lee.
A long time ago, I think it was part of the merge. I was in some sort of a focus group and we're brainstorming and a whiteboard and the whole thing. And the question was, what gets you to go to a program? What gets you to come to synagogue? And I was really quite shocked by the answers because to me personally, it's the speaker, the program, the level of interest. If it's something I would like to learn more about.
Right.
Was shocked at the number of people and the number of seemingly very social extroverted people who said, well, if I know anybody going, like they have, it's a chicken egg thing, I know, but it's they have to know somebody who's going to go. So chicken egg, but just a data point out there to that if people's friends are going, then they'll go. Whereas
Well,
they might not go just because of the topic.
can I answer that as well?
Yep.
Please.
We also talked about having dinners for new people, for new families, people in neighborhoods having neighborhood dinners, and in that way, and my sister had that at her temple in California. So somebody would volunteer, and anyone who was in the neighborhood who had joined the temple would come and meet people. And you start with that in the Havurah system. We still belong to a Havurah. And that, I don't know, Vanessa, if that's still part of it, but a lot of times people we went to services once a month and
Yeah.
had dinner at each other's houses.
So
So
there are chavarot. There are also almost every month you can eat at Macomb. We just had a Greek dinner last week. Pormspiel, there's heavy appetizers. Stacy does a lot of these Shabbat dinners before services, and then you go to services. And
Those
and of
started
course,
as, sorry, that was
go
to say,
ahead.
those community dinners, they started as like new member community dinner. And
Yeah.
then other members were like, well, hey, I want to do that. So then we just started
Exactly.
having dinners.
Then we have the schmooze.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Shabbat and schmooze.
Yeah.
we used to also have buddy systems where a new member was assigned to an already established member, and they would invite them to a Shabbat. They would call them and say, well, you want to go to a Shabbat tonight? So that would solve the problem that
Yeah.
you were talking about, that they would know somebody.
Yeah.
know.
Again, I think some of this, that's a membership thing, and not that
Right.
we are
Totally.
concerned with that.
That's
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
I could give you 100 ideas about membership, but we really need to, and the time is getting late. It's 8:15. If you want to get, I haven't started, for next year at all. Well, maybe a little bit, but if you want to give me some ideas, so I will tell you this. Ben Zeller said he couldn't make it. I said, Ben, what ideas do you have for next year? And the other person who I'm trying to get a hold of who canceled on us in the fall is Jim Kenny. He wasn't well. I sent him are you feeling better? I didn't want to be ruthless and say, are you feeling well enough to come speak? And he had already told me he'd only do Zoom. And so I'll try seeing I would love to hear from him about right now. So
I know he's doing programming at the North Shore Senior Center.
okay, well then
I-
I'm going to have to
I
thank you for that tidbit.
Yeah, I might be. I mean, I saw that, that he was doing that. I don't know if he's doing it coming up, what his
Right.
situation is.
Right. All right. Well,
And he's been a big draw forever.
Right.
I know.
We've had him for literally decades.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
he is amazing, and I want to know what he has to say. And listen, he was supposed to come to us the week after the um
The election.
election. And I said to him, I go, okay, you're sick. Okay. I said, but tell me, what do you think is going to happen? And he said to me, you know, uh, he didn't think that the outcome will be as we have it now.
Oh.
And so I would just be interested to see what, you know, what he has to say about the current state of affairs.
Have we ever
Right.
had anybody from Sharsheret?
I mean, to speak for a whole morning, I mean, I've done a lot with them, and you know, we do in October, I don't, a cancer night where somebody shares their story and they have their swag there, and I mean, I'm sure. I mean, if you wanted a speaker from there, I'd be happy to. I happen to do a lot of speakers. I do a lot of speaking for them, so.
Oh, well.
I
mean,
was at a program a couple weeks ago, and it was
Oh.
the woman from Sharsheret, and then it was several people who spoke and shared their stories, but they
Where-
make it very clear that
Yeah.
it's, you know, something men should know about as well in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
genetic testing and all.
We did have last week, it was last year, it was virtual. We also had the Sarnoff Center. And Denny and Barb Kessler are very involved with that. But, you know, genetic testing, I believe, is in the future, all of these diseases will be mapped out on genes. And, you know, it's so important. And hopefully our National Health Institute will not be unfunded so that they can continue to do this important research. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
Mary or Bob, do you have the next meeting date available? I can't find it, and I know I can find it, but I can't find it right now.
I know. That's what I was looking to, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't.
Well, you know what? I'll find it and send out notes from this meeting, and
Ah.
then, you know, we can take
Yeah,
it.
I didn't transfer to my paper calendar, so it's somewhere.
All right. All right. We got to find that.
Right.
Vanessa, did you
Yeah.
send out anything? This is not relevant to this group for the short story. Did you?
Not yet. I'm
Okay.
still tabulated.
Okay.
All right.
And, you know, I just want to point out that there's a number of adult enrichment types of programming coming up that are not on Sundays. So, for example, next Saturday, I think that would be the 8th,
Yes.
at Kurt's Cafe, which is a lovely place. There's going to be a Havdalah led by Rabbi Sarada, but it's a speaker. Do you remember his name?
No, I'll see if I can find it though.
Yeah, but a pretty well known.
Yes,
Israeli ambassador or something.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Tuesday in a couple weeks in the evening is Alden Salovey, if I'm pronouncing his last name right.
Yes.
We had him at my old temple in the Southern Burbs, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, and I love his books. So that's a Tuesday evening. I think it's at 7 or something.
Yeah.
So there are things at different times and different days that we can take advantage.
We're trying.
I think your idea of this colloquium of the different temples would hit different purposes as well.
Yeah. I will share with you that I know a lot of the people in the synagogues. You know, I've been doing this a long time. And my colleague at North Shore Congregation Israel, when she has empty nesters come, she said, you should look at Macomb. Because they just don't have as many programs as we do.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously I'm proud of everything that we do. And, you know, I'm also, look, there's a lot, things are good. And when things are good, it makes it, you know, a great place to work. I was helping somebody with a yard site, and she said, you know, I just joined. Thank you for all your help. I mean, you know, if we can't help with a yard site, then Might as well hang it up. But it's just to feel good when you can reach out to these people and see everyone, and
Right.
except when the streaming doesn't work and the microphones don't work. Then it's not a feel good, but
Yeah.
then I get a text. You're on mute, Mary. Then I get a text from Mary. And sometimes and Denise Goldberg, I'm like, Denise, can you hear? You know.
Listen, we are in a listening to streaming with Northwestern, and she lost all video and all sound, and had to. The program was a bust.
Hmm.
So it's not just.
That makes me feel better, Lynn.
Well, I thought it would.
Yeah.
I know it's top of mind for everybody, I'm sure,
Yeah.
to get that fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and here's the, one of the issues, Jen, has to do with the fact that the streaming that's being done, the only microphones that are able to be heard are the wireless ones,
Yeah, the.
not the white. Yes, those and the handheld.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're using a wired mic that's plugged into the floor,
Doesn't.
streaming is not going to, it's not going to pick up. So that's why we don't hear the choir
Yeah.
a lot of times,
Yeah.
because those are wired mics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't hear the piano because it's a wired mic.
Yeah.
And
Or-
so
Or the guitar is too loud because we
Because
don't
he's-
have a
Not balanced.
soundboard to
because
mix.
he's on wireless.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, this is a basic, and it's an easy enough fix if you want to purchase just some more wireless handhelds.
Yeah. I
You
think
have
that-
enough channels,
Yeah.
in your mixer in
Yeah.
order to do that. You just substitute your wired ones for some handheld wireless.
I think Jay's trying to look at an overall look at the
New
sound.
board, yeah.
It's really hard. I will get out minutes from this meeting. I will tell you when the next meeting is. We'll have time to talk about new ideas. Jen, I hope this was helpful for the strategic
Thank
planning.
you, everybody.
I took notes. You'll see it
Yeah.
all, if not tomorrow, early next week.
Vanessa, can I just ask, because
Yeah.
this one's a little time sensitive. I know from our docent Jim that the museum's closing, did you say June 1st?
Yep.
And
We
is there-
closed. It will be open downtown Chicago, but the Skokie facility will be closed for a year.
Yeah.
A
Wow.
year?
Oh, a year.
Why?
They've got a
Yeah.
massive building project going.
Oh my.
So I was wondering, is there any way to organize before June 1st a trip to the internment camps exhibit?
Our calendar is super filled, and higher up on the priority is going to Northlight to see this play. And I don't know, but I've
I mean,
also
happy
had.
to take people through, but I don't know whether
Right.
you do it
Maybe
that
we
way.
could have an informal thing, because I have had, they may be widows who came and they want to meet in the afternoon. And so that.
Maybe we
Well,
should publish this to the congregation that it's closing. So,
Yeah.
just as a,
So will
If
it,
you're going to publicize it, please do not do that for a week or so.
I was gonna say,
okay.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot
Yeah,
pole.
like,
I
no.
gotta publicize my things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's a different issue, but
when it reopens, it'll just be a whole new museum on the inside?
no,
It'll be
no,
back.
but there will be different kind of a lobby structure. There'll be bathrooms on the main floor, which has been a problem.
Okay.
There'll be some space so you can get in and out of the exhibit and decompress and talk. The auditorium will be moved to a different, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like that, but no, it will not be an entirely different museum, and it will not be a different footprint.
Okay.
And it will not really be fully publicized for about a week yet.
Okay. I did not know
We have
that.
insider information.
I like it. I
Vanessa,
know.
Yeah.
maybe instead of a Sunday, we could do a tour during the week.
Right, an afternoon, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and see, I could put something out there. Are you interested?
Yes.
Come up with a date, and
Mhm.
that might, for me, kill two birds with one stone, because
Yeah.
I had a group of people come to talk to Holly. They want things in the afternoon.
I heard about that.
Okay.
We don't drive at night. We like things during the day.
Yeah, exactly.
We-
Driving at night is dangerous for some.
Uh,
Hey,
You
That's
wouldn't
why
go
it's
to
a
the
little bit
museum
for
at night
everybody.
anyway.
um, Paul Epner's mom, Dorothy, right? That was her name. She came up to me once and she goes, Vanessa, you know, I have a boyfriend. I said, oh, you do? And she goes, uh-huh. And then she looks at me, he drives at night.
She was a hoot.
Yes,
She
she
was.
was.
have the, if you go to Ravinia during the summer, which we haven't thought about either,
Oh, yeah.
but they have these big buses that say like the V,
Oh, yeah.
Mather.
Yeah.
They bus them over there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because these people don't want to drive, but
I think there
Ravinia,
should be like a adult enrichment social club where people help carpool people to events.
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice idea.
Yeah, well, the head of that is Bob Zitter.
Yeah.
He
That's true.
carpools every
Already.
week somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
Makes
that,
me feel better. Sometimes I'm bringing someone too, but they live around the corner. So
Thank you, everybody. You'll hear from me and
Okay, thank you, Vanessa.
thanks
All
everybody.
right,
Bye-bye.
thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
bye. Stay
Bye-bye.
well.
Stay well, you too.